This is Professor Robertsolis. Welcome to this video lesson. What we're going to be talking about is creating a program that allows the user to enter a positive odd number, and then we're going to display the remaining odd numbers in a descending order. So in this example, the user enters the number 11, and then when they click the display odd numbers, we want to display from 11 to the next odd number in a descending fashion, so from 11 to 9, 7, 5, 3, 1. Okay, so whatever the number is that's entered by the user, the remaining odd numbers all the way down to 1 must be displayed. So I'm giving you this flowchart to give you an example of how we can transfer this flowchart, which is the algorithm for solving this problem, into Visual Basic. Alright, so over here I have Visual Basic open. Here's the graphical user interface. I'm going to go ahead and double click on the button so I can go into the code area. And here we are. Alright, well the first thing I need to do is to type my comments, which well, I'll say declarations, get user input, calculation, and output. I put these down as a template, and then I may modify them in some way, specifically the bottom two. Maybe they might be combined, or maybe I don't need an output. But I put them down as a template, at least to give me somewhere to go. Okay, so I go back over here to the handout. I think to myself, what are those things that are going to be received from the user, or those things that I need to display as an output? Well, definitely we have a user number. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to say dim user num as, and we'll say integer because according to the instructions, the user must enter a positive odd number. So we'll say that that's going to be a whole number, right? We'll start from here. In terms of the output, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an output string. So we'll just say output as string, and I'll assign that to nothing first. Now, whenever you see a series of numbers, I've mentioned in class that the best thing to do is to think about a looping structure that will help to generate the remaining numbers in the series. So that means we're going to need a counter. So we'll just say dim counter as integer. All right. And then it looks like we're also going to need to actually know the odd number that we're dealing with here. Oh, actually, I think we do. We have that via the user number. So I guess that takes care of that. I think that's all we need. If we need something else, I can always go back and figure out what we need. But actually, we can take a look at the flowchart to see what we need. Let's see. Okay, so it says let user num be a whole number. Let user number be a whole number. I did that. Let's see here. Let output be a string initialized to nothing. Okay, so output is a string initialized to nothing. Now I didn't say anything over here about a counter, so I better take this away. So I didn't say anything about a counter. I'm just going to try to follow along with what the flowchart says. Okay, so the next thing, print enter a positive odd number. Well, that's really what this is. It's simply a label that's going to describe what it is the user is going to enter into the text box. And then we read that user num. So over here in get user input, user num is whatever, so let me say convert.to int 32, whatever's inside of the text box. So txt user num.text. Okay, so that takes care of get the user input, which is this section over here. And now this diamond shape is either going to be an if statement or a while statement. It's going to be a selection structure or a repetition structure. Since there's an arrow that's going back into it, you can see the nature of this thing. It's a loop. So that means that this is a while statement, say for example. So while the user num is greater than or equal to 1. So over here in the calculation area, while the user num is greater than or equal to 1. And you can see that when you press enter, end while automatically is inserted for you. Okay, so while this thing is true, it says append the output with the current value of user number. Okay, so whatever the output currently is, we're going to append that with whatever the number is for user num. Just double check here. Is that right? Yeah, user num. So that means we're going to have to convert to string whatever user num is. Okay, according to our flowchart, we now need to decrement the user num by 2. So that just simply means user num minus 2. So we've decremented by 2. Now we go back over here to the while statement and re-ask the question, is user number greater than or equal to 1? If that's true, we just keep on doing this over and over and over again. So that takes care of the loop body. Now, when this thing is no longer true, we jump out, and what do? We send the variable output to the display. So over here in the output section, we're going to say we send the output variable to the display, so that just simply means LBL result.text is going to be assigned whatever the value of output is. Okay, so let's run the program, see if it works, because I think that's it. Now, that's all we had to do. So let me go ahead and run the program. And let me move this over here so you can see the code at the same time as me running the program here. So I'll type 11. Okay, the only bad thing is I didn't include any spaces. So 11,97531 is correct with no spaces. So let me turn this off. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to concatenate a space in between the numbers. Now let's save all and run again. And let's see if that takes care of the problem. Okay, so I'm going to type 11. Yep. And what about 15? Okay, good. It goes all the way from 15 and lists all the numbers in descending order all the way to 1. How about a big one, like 35? Okay, so at least upon my initial glance, it looks like everything is correct. Okay, so you see that the program works, and what you've done is you've basically taken this flowchart and have acted as a translator to change this into Visual Basic code. Alright, so now let's take a look at what's happening here. Now, initially I started off with a counter because that's what I thought I needed, but in this case I'm going to use the actual user number as a type of counter to keep on reducing it. That's what this flowchart is mandating that we do. Okay, so if you want to take a look at the code to see exactly what it's like, what these various variables are like at any given time, you can place breaks at different parts of the code. Typically what I'll do is I'll just simply place one break and then I'll continue from here. So I'm going to break the code when we're trying to obtain the user input at this point. So I'll run it, and as you can see here the program is running, and I'm going to go ahead and type a number. Let's say I type in the number 5. I click display odd numbers. Okay, so at this point we're going to stop the code. That's what this break means. Just stop the code at this point. In the text box you see that the user typed in the number 5, but this is text, that's why you see the quotes. We're going to convert this to an integer, and we're going to place this into a variable called user_num, which is right now it's 0. It's not equal to anything because over here I declared it, but I didn't set it equal to anything. Alright, so you can use these buttons over here, step into, step over, step out. These have refined value or refined functions within the within the IDE of Visual Studio. But in this case, I'm just going to say you can either use step over or step into at this point in time, and that's okay. So I'll just hit F8. Alright, so we jump over here. Let's see, did user number equal to 5? Yes, it did. Now you'll notice over here this autos section automatically tells me what the variable is equal to, user_num. Now you may not see this, so if you don't see these, let me go ahead and close this. And, well, I got a bunch of stuff open here. And finally, okay, good. So my program is running, but I don't have anything down here. That's okay. What you can do is you can go to Debug in Windows, and I would recommend that you select Locals, or Autos, perhaps. So if I select Autos, it's automatically going to show me those values, the numeric value for each of the different variables. Okay, so at this point, we're going to ask this question, while user_num, which is currently 5, if it's greater than or equal to 1, we go into the loop body. Well, that's true, so I'm going to go ahead and click F8, and now it goes into the loop body. Output is initially equal to nothing, as you can see over here. We're going to concatenate that with a space, and we're going to concatenate that with the value of user_num, which is 5. So in essence, this thing should be space 5. Let's see what happens. So I go over here, and sure enough, in the output, see the space and the number 5. Perfect. User number is equal to 5 right now because that's what the user initially entered. We're going to subtract 2 from it, so user_num should equal to 3 after this step. So I click over here, and sure enough, user_num is equal to 3. Alright, we're finished with the first iteration of the while statement, so we go back to the top of it, and we ask if user number is still greater than or equal to 1. It is, it's equal to 3, so once again we go into the loop body. Now the output statement, as you can see here, is this. What we're going to do is we're going to take that old value, and we're going to concatenate a space after the 5 plus the user number 3. So when I step over it, now notice what the output is. User number is currently equal to 3, so we're going to subtract 2 from it, or decrement 2, and now you can see it's equal to 1. Alright, so I go back over here to the while statement. Is 1 greater than or equal to 1? Because that's what user number is, as you can see. That's a true statement, so we go into it one more time. We output, we subtract the user_num minus 2. We go back over here. You can see what our output is. Our output currently is 531. Now, the user_num, -1, is not greater than or equal to 1, so this is a false statement. At this point, we jump out of the while statement since it's false, and we're getting ready to submit the value of output, which is, in this case, 531, or you can see that in the auto section. So what we're going to do is we're going to assign this to the text property of the label. And so when we assign that to the text property of the label, since we get the end sum, what I would recommend that you do is click this continue button, and now we can see what the output is, 531. And that's it. Okay, so this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.